Okay, so welcome to the Recruitment and Retention webinar. So I'll introduce myself and tell you a little bit about why I'm doing this webinar for you. So my name's Abby, so I'm one of the program coordinators for Enactus UK, and all of the program coordinators, three of us, have around 20 teams that we look after, and then we have like a specialised strategy area that we look after. For me, my area of strategy is team sustainability. So at the moment that's looking like recruitment, retention, and then handover. So we're not going to be talking about handover in this webinar. We're going to leave that for slightly later in the year. But if you do have any questions about that, or you want to have a chat at all, you can always pop something in the chat box. We can have an email afterwards, something like that. So the recruitment is about increasing your membership. But then retention is really key because it's making sure that you're getting a high level of engagement from your membership. So there's no point having lots and lots of members who never attend. So the two really come hand in hand. So that's why it's important to talk about both of them together. Okay, so first thing, we're just going to have a little bit of a debrief about freshers. So this is an interactive opportunity. So I hope you've not fallen asleep whilst we're waiting the 5 minutes for some other people to join us. So feel free to bring your microphone off now or use the chat box, and just tell us a bit about what you've done for freshers, whether you had a stall at the fair, maybe you did some kind of activity somewhere in more of a kind of open space. If you want to add a bit, and then I'll just keep chatting, and then if anyone wants to join and add some insight. I know there's not many of us. So I'll tell you a bit about the teams that I've spoken to so far and the kind of things they've done as well. So most teams have had a stall at least one fair. So obviously different universities do it in a different way. So it might be that you have a volunteering fair, societies fair. Some of them span over multiple days, so you get several opportunities or multiple campuses. So it can be quite full on, obviously giving a lot of time and energy to look after those stalls. But it's a really great opportunity to catch a lot of new students, to tell them a bit about yourself before they get lost in everything else that's going on campus as well. So it can be a bit of a busy time for new students. Obviously they're walking past all the different societies that want them to join. But hopefully you have the opportunity to stand out, have a bit of yellow on your stall, and draw a few people in. So we also want to talk a little bit about what might not have gone so well at your stall, and then what did go well. So we'll end with the positive. So again, if you have anything you want to add, but obviously no pressure. So from the teams that I've spoken to, some of them have found that it can be difficult targeting people in terms of the people that they have that are looking after the stall. So one way of looking after that is standing by the stall and obviously letting people kind of approach you. But the difference with Enactus versus other societies is it's not always clear to everyone what it is. So if you were, you know, archery or football or debating, it might be a bit more obvious what your society is about. So you might get people approaching because they're already interested based on the name of the society. With Enactus, it's not always immediately clear all the different things that go into it. So people might not know to approach the stall. So it can be quite helpful for people to step up to people, you know, if they're lingering and having a look at some of the projects or they're looking at some of your information, approaching them and asking them, you know, if they're interested in volunteering or enterprise or developing leadership skills. Sometimes asking people what course they're doing can be helpful. Some of you may know there's a lot of kind of business students that tend to join Enactus. So that doesn't mean that if they're not doing business, they can't join. But it just means if you get someone and you say, what course are you doing? And they say business, there might be an easier one. So you can always pull them in on the thing that you think is going to be most relevant to them based on the information that you're picking up. Also important to have the right resources on your stall. So making sure that you've got any kind of flyers, or you'll see from the picture as well, in the top right hand corner here, one of the teams had large versions of the UN Global Goals as well, so that's a bit more kind of interactive. and more engaging, you know, something for people to look at and draw them in. And then what went great? So obviously if you want to share your experiences, but I know that a lot of teams have really surpassed their expectations, the number of signups they've had. Some teams that were expecting 40 to 50, getting over 100. So even though not everyone that signs up at your Freshers Fair will join, it's important to get as many people signing up to start with as possible, because then it means you've got some people that you can contact to try and draw them in. And even if they're not interested, if they like you on Facebook or they've got a vague awareness of the events you've got going on, and they discuss it with people they live with or study with, it might be that they bring someone else to join the team, that, you know, someone that hadn't even signed up in the first place. So that's why it's still helpful to kind of spread your network as large as possible and get those sign-ups. I also know of a few teams that said that they had very good high quality, they said. So people that might be coming to do a second degree postgraduate that have done Enactus at other universities, or maybe their kind of course area or research area is links to one of your projects, or you think would make a really fantastic new project. So obviously I know that for most people, Freshers is now, the stores at least are kind of finished, but there's still a bit of a buzz on a lot of campuses. So it's definitely good to kind of make the most of that. You know, if you've got any time booked to be on campus, whether it's for fundraising or for anything else, to try and make sure that you're kind of representing Enactus and approaching people that you think could be prospective members. Oh, pop you on to the next one. Okay, so looking a bit at recruitment numbers. So a lot of people wonder how many people they should recruit, or you might have done some kind of audit and realised that actually based on the projects that you've got and the spaces you want to fill, maybe you need 25, maybe 30 if you're being generous, and that's the number of people that you'd like to have. It's no good recruiting 30 people because you'll lose a lot of people over the course of the year. So this is the same thing in many societies, that especially when you get people signing up through Freshers, there's a lot of different opportunities available. So it might be that they've signed up to a lot of things, but then they only attend half of those. And even then, people still pay membership and join a lot of societies that they may not stay involved in. So I would always steer people away from downsizing. It's always best to recruit strong. So if you've been recruiting quite well for a number of years, you consistently bring in, 100 paid members, and then some of those drop off, it's still worth trying to reach a little bit further, because those people that you've got registered become a bank of volunteers. Even if they're not your active members that, engage on a regular basis, they may still be happy to join in with the delivery of some of your projects, to do a touch of volunteering, or to help with one of your fundraisers, or attend some of your events that you want to get some more bums on seats. So it's always good to have two membership goals. So you're registered, so the members that you've got that have bought their membership, some teams do have free membership, so that number might be slightly higher still because there's low stakes for them. And then your active members, so the ones who regularly attend your meetings, engage with team activities. You might get active members that don't attend all of the meetings because they've got other commitments, but they might engage in other ways or be part of a project team. And those are always going to be two different numbers. So when you're thinking about your kind of membership goal, the people that you want to recruit, it's good to be realistic and think about the two of them as different numbers. So how many people do you want to sign up, but how many people do you actually want attending your meetings, joining your project teams? Because there's no good targeting, aiming for the active number, because then you'll lose people over the course of the year. And then as well, don't forget that you may lose some of your active members over the course of the summer. When people have finished up for uni, they head home or they work and travel. And a lot of teams have projects that really ought to be running over the course of the summer. So when you lose a lot of your members, it makes it very difficult for preparing for Freshers and ensuring the sustainability of your projects as well. So that's why it's really important to recruit a little bit generously. And then if you've recruited a lot of people and you find that actually you're doing really well, you've got plenty of people for all of your project teams, creating innovation ready. So you can call it any number of things, but creating an innovation team means you've got an opportunity for your new members to create new projects. And that's a fantastic opportunity for them and a great opportunity for the team as well. So anyone that you've got remaining that, you know, hasn't been matched with a project team, whether you have an application process for the project teams or you identify people that you think might be appropriate, anyone that you've got left after that process is worth putting into an innovation team. So it might be that some people from there might do a bit of shadowing of your committee and maybe they'll move into kind of leadership roles, but the majority of the people that move into your innovation team, you're looking at creation of new projects. So depending on the number of people you have in this kind of team, depends on whether it might be worth having a director to look after that as well. So if your innovation team is 5 people, you might decide that it doesn't need any kind of additional supervision apart from, you know, a project leader. Whereas if your innovation team is 20 people or 30 people, you might want someone to supervise that process and facilitate the kind of creative process in coming up with those ideas that are going to tackle the social issues relevant to your local area and across the world as well. So looking at the number of people you have in that will help determine how you want to structure it. But then it's also helpful to come up with a process of how you want to go about looking after that innovation process. So if you've got a new innovation team and you've tasked them with coming up with projects that they are passionate about, and maybe they'll check with you first, it's good to give them some kind of timescales for some of the process. So you don't want to say, come up with an idea and give them all year with no deadline, because you don't want to waste any of the time that you've got available in such a short year that you have within an Enactus year. So it's worth setting a few kind of timescales, and if you've got a director, that's someone to kind of keep an eye on the progress and make sure everything's moving along. And something to bear in mind as well for the coming weeks is whether you want something to be sorted before training weekend. So training weekend, as most of you should know, the emails have come out recently, is currently centered around projects this year. So there's 2 streams. There's your innovation stream and your impact stream. So the impact stream will be for your existing projects that are looking to have that deeper impact. But the innovation stream, which is what we would consider for the innovation team, it might be that in your innovation team you've identified a few people that you think are, would be good in a kind of leadership role, that you want to give them the opportunity to develop their skills so they can support one of the kind of emerging project teams for the coming year. So it's worth looking at the people that you've got in that team as well, and perhaps advising that people come up with some kind of draft before the training weekend. It can still change over the course of the weekend, but giving them something to work with and giving them a timescale can help push people towards having some content ready for something like that. So you've done your recruitment, you've done freshers, you've got your members. Now what do you do? So first thing to do is send out an email blast. So obviously all those people that have signed up and given their email addresses to you, you want to pop them an email not too long after the freshers fairs, so that Enactus is still in their mind, and pop them an email that just contains details about what you've got coming up. So your welcome event, maybe your first couple of meetings, a little bit about Enactus, so then when they come to the welcome event, they've already got a bit of an idea of what Enactus is about as well. So best to keep that short and sweet, maybe put a couple of nice pictures in, maybe from competition, maybe from an activity or an event that you had the previous year, and make sure that you send that out with enough time before your welcome event so that people can plan their days and their weeks. So the welcome event is the next thing that's going to be on your agenda before your first kind of meetings and socials that might run in a normal way. So your welcome event is probably going to split into 2 kinds of sections. There's going to be your information. So usually done at the beginning, you introduce yourself, the committee, a bit about Enactus, so that might be the history of your team, Enactus UK and the support that we offer, the concept of Enactus, and the belief statement as well. And then going through what projects that your team has, so the opportunities that are available for them to join, and a bit about what the year looks like, so a kind of calendar of events, as it were. And then you might want some icebreakers and activities as well. So you want these to be relevant, but also to be fun, to be engaging, and getting people moving. So you don't want to have just a presentation or a lecture, because that's something that people are going to get really used to. So an activity where people can get up and move around the room. For example, with the issue cards that some of you might be aware of, so cards that have details of statistics relating to a variety of social issues. So you could always print those off, stick them up around the room, give people an opportunity to walk around the room, look at those, find one that they're interested in, get in a group around the one that they're interested in, and discuss that. So then they've also self-selected something that they're interested in. So that's keeping it even more engaging for them, as well as giving them an opportunity to get out their seat, get moving, talk to some new people that have shared interests as well. Icebreakers, it's all right if they're a little bit cheesy, because that's what people expect, but try and keep them fun as well. So one of my favorites is name bingo. So you might get a sheet of paper, add a few boxes in there, and in each one it'll have some kind of characteristic or piece of information, and people have to fill in people for each of those. So it might be someone who's done volunteering before, or someone that has experience in researching things, or is interested in, you know, a certain social issue. But then you can also add things that are fun, that are totally irrelevant as well. So has a blue toothbrush, can speak another language, and then you have that in a series of boxes, and people go around and have to ask people their names, get a conversation starting, fill that in, and maybe the first person to get a full house, you can give them a prize as well. So that's a nice way to get people talking to each other, without it being with so much focus on, you know, everyone in the center of the room. Okay. So Freshers is a great time for recruitment. There's a lot of people that come through the doors at the Freshers Fair. So absolutely it's important to be prepared and to have a good debrief about that with your committee. But don't forget about all your other recruitment opportunities throughout the year. So every fundraiser, meeting, project delivery session, anything you do on campus and beyond is a prospective recruitment opportunity. So if you're doing a bake sale on campus, don't just sell cakes, have your banner up behind you, have your flyers on the table with details of your upcoming events as well. If you know that your team meeting is always on a Wednesday, pop that on your flyers so that people can turn up to your meetings without having to worry about having to find it online or email someone to get the information. Push that information in their face, and make sure that it's available anytime that you guys are out on campus. So that goes for, and every time you're doing fundraiser, something external, but meetings as well, because you might find that someone finds you through Facebook and they want to turn up to a meeting to see what it's about. That doesn't mean that they're definitely going to sign up. So that's why you need to put in the effort to look after them and make sure that you're running those engaging sessions so that you can recruit them. Same with all of the sessions that you're running. So it's always good to keep copies of your flyers or anything that you've got prepared, so that people can learn a bit more about the society and have something to take away with them. So calendar, I've mentioned a couple of times. Preparing your calendar is so important. Things that I think is absolutely key. You can give it to anyone. Once you've got your calendar sorted, that's available for use with your members, with your support network. You can take it to your advisory board meetings. You can give it to people who might be prospective university advisors. So it's a really fantastic tool that shows what you've got on when, as well as being a really helpful organizational tool for yourself. So you might not need your committee meetings on an external copy of your calendar. You might like to put them on in the interest of transparency, but that's up to you. But popping things on like your whole team meetings, your project meetings, any talks or training activities. For example, you might have a business advisor come in and giving you a talk about employability skills or marketing skills. And it's really great to get that on the calendar that you're sharing with all of your members as well. Popping on any events or competitions with Enactus UK, so like the training weekend, regionals, national expo. and any of your socials and your advisory board meetings. So that's lots of stuff to get you started on your calendar. So it's good to create a sense of regularity in your calendar as well. So your prospective and, sorry for the typo there, existing members can confidently predict when things are, which will increase the attendance. So they don't feel like they need to check the calendar every time. If they know that whole team meeting is every Wednesday or every second Tuesday or the first Thursday of the month, if you have it at the same time on a regular basis, they will check and you're more likely to have people attend because they're confident that it's going to be on. And that goes for team meetings, project meetings. It's slightly different with, you know, socials or your advisory board meetings, but it's still worth getting an idea of how frequently you want things like this to be run. So this is just an example that I've got up on the screen here. So your whole team meetings, it depends a little bit on your team, the number of people you have, how you structure the rest of your calendar of events, but you might decide that you want to meet every week, every month, every fortnight, and working out how regularly you want to meet and getting that on the calendar. So the first time you do this with your committee, if you haven't done it already, it might be worth printing out some templates of a calendar for the upcoming months. So maybe at the moment, I would say until Christmas, and just starting to write things on the calendar. So if you know when you want your team meetings in, just pencil those in. And you can start to fill in the gaps to make sure that you've got regular points of contact and engagement with your members. So team meetings, I think it's a nice opportunity for everyone, not just specific project teams, to see each other regularly, frequently. I definitely wouldn't go any longer than a month for those, because it's important that people get a chance to see each other. You know, if they've made friends, they're going to want to come to these kinds of events. Project meetings, again, as a committee, you might decide that for each project team, they've got slightly different needs and a slightly different schedule, everyone that's in the team. So it might be that you kind of leave that up to them to some extent, them to kind of report back to the committee, because then you can pop that on your calendar and also gives you an idea of how often people are meeting, how much work is going into it, that kind of thing. Talks and training. Now you might want to do some kind of regular events for something like that, or you might want to put on, you know, a special kind of festival of talks or speakers. So it might be that you could think that, you know, every December you're going to do 2 weeks where you have a range of talks that you might organise with business advisors, university advisors, other academics on campus. But again, that's something that you can put in the diary in advance so that you know that you can advertise it to people. Enactus UK events, obviously already at a set time, so you should have those dates already. Socials, it's good to have some kind of social opportunity as well for your members. I think a couple of months is nice, but making sure that you definitely have at least one social that isn't drinking related. This is kind of advice for any society, not just Enactus. Just makes it a bit more inclusive. And for that, you know, socials where, you know, people aren't going to drink or going out to the club, it might be nice looking at your local area, looking at the city that you live in, and choosing something a little bit unusual that will make you kind of stand out from some of the other societies. So visiting one of the kind of like local museums, or if there's some installation or exhibition that's happening locally that you think could be interesting, and doing stuff that is a unique experience for where you live as well. And then not forgetting to put your advisory board meetings on there. Once or twice a term is probably about right, but obviously in each team it's ever so slightly different. And then once you've got a calendar, shout out about it. There's no good having a calendar and not telling anyone, which it is helpful for the committee, but it's always good to share it with other people. So that's where it comes down to marketing it. So share it across multiple platforms. So it might be that you put it in a Facebook or WhatsApp group, but the first thing I would suggest is absolutely make Facebook events. So try and do it at least a couple of weeks in advance. If someone goes onto Facebook, they think, oh, I might attend the event. They click interested. Their friend sees they click interested on an Enactus event. So maybe they click on it and they see, oh, I wonder what this is about. So you can reach more people by making your events on Facebook as well. And it also makes it really easy for any prospective members to decide if they want to join anything, as well as making it easy for your existing members to know what's happening when as well, so they can check it in a really easy way. Facebook and WhatsApp groups, so that could be a Facebook Messenger group or a Facebook group in itself, not just events on your page. Sending out emails, so you don't want to do that too regularly for your membership, but it might be that once a month or once every 2 weeks you send out an update on, you know, what's next in the calendar, so that people have an idea of what's going on if they're not necessarily on social media all the time. Pop in details of your events on your SU website if they offer that, you know, if they host a facility where you can pop your events on, or if there's any way to advertise it through them as well, because they want more engagement with society as well. And then having some flyers. So obviously we want to be as environmentally friendly as possible, but having some flyers is going to really increase your recruitment and your engagement, because people can take something away with them, so they're not going to forget, because when they get home, it's still going to be in their hand. So putting that all of your recruitment opportunities, so that people can pick that up. Maybe having some on you as well, if you know that you're going to an event that you think is vaguely suitable, and maybe you'll do a touch of networking, then you can always pass those out as well, so people can know what's going on with Enactus and when they can join some of your meetings. Okay, retention. We are powering through a little bit just because we've got a slightly lower attendance, so we will probably finish on the early side, just to let you know. So first thing to think about with retention is the key part of it is engagement. So you need all of your activities to be engaging. So that's your regular meetings, your projects and all the activities and the delivery that goes into those, your socials, everything needs to be engaging. So think about both your new and your existing members when you're planning these kinds of activities. So even around freshers, it's really easy to cater to all your new members. But if you've got existing members, you don't want to be pushing them out by creating events that aren't going to be relevant to them as well. So even if it's welcome events, you could get your existing members to join in to deliver part of it and to help support that event as well. So making sure that you're engaging all of your members. So 3 points I've popped here as well. Routine is reassuring. So as I mentioned before, having regular meetings and having a routine agenda or structure to those meetings can be very comforting and tell people, you know, the order that things flow in on a regular basis. So when I talk about a routine agenda or structure, think about your regular meetings, whether that's weekly, fortnightly, monthly. How do they run? What do you do? Is it just casual, people turn up and they work on their project work? Do you have it where you present an update to start with, or have a spotlight on some of your projects, do any training? And coming up with a structure for that. So there's a team that I spoke to today where we talked about how they might want to structure a 2-hour whole team meeting. And they wanted a little bit of structure to it, but it's nice to have the casual element as well. So one way to compromise on that is maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes, people are coming in, they're getting comfortable. Then you do 10 to 15 minutes, maybe you want to do an update on what's happening, if you've got any particular information you want to deliver. Then maybe a 30 or 40-minute training session or some kind of talk or a speaker. And then the rest of the session to be you know, individual or kind of project work that's relevant to Enactus. But it means that because people are all together, it is still a social opportunity. So people can still see their friends that are working in other projects and share best practice, as well as giving the committee an opportunity to have some FaceTime and interact with some of the members so that they know who the committee are and they feel comfortable kind of interacting with you as well. So having some element of structure in those, if people know that they've got 5 minutes to settle down before an update, they're going to start settling down within those 5 minutes quite quickly. Whereas if they don't know quite what's happening, it might take a bit longer to bring a bit of order to the meeting. So nice to have a bit of routine. Relationships are invaluable. So providing opportunity for your members to bond with each other. So that might be when you've got your new members having some of your icebreakers. It might be that after your regular meetings, maybe if they're monthly, maybe you go to the pub afterwards, just a kind of standing reservation. You say, a couple of us are going, it'd be great if you could come. And even if the committee don't stay for very long, you've brought people over to the pub and let them stay there together in a place that is casual. They're not doing Enactus work anymore, they're just surrounded by people. So they'll start to forge relationships with the people that they're around. And then passion is key. So encourage your members to join teams and opportunities they care about. So this might come back to when you've got your kind of innovation teams or your new members, rather than just assigning them to a team, it's worth having a conversation with people to find out what their interests are. If people work on something that they care about, they're going to put more effort into it. They're going to attend better. So it's definitely worth having a conversation with people about what matters to them and working with that. It is possible that the things that people are interested in and care about can change over time. But as long as you make sure that there's a kind of open channel of communication, then if someone feels like they really are not getting on with the project and they want to move to a different one, it's better that they do that than they leave. So in the routine and nurturing the relationships and the passion of your members, you'll create an environment that members enjoy. Feedback, invaluable. Feedback is what you need back. So keep your eyes and ears open about others' experiences. So you want your members to have impact, but to do that, you need to offer them impact. You need to give them an experience that they're enjoying, that they're going to take away and tell other people about because it's been so positive. So you need to give them a positive environment so that they can then work hard on those projects and deliver that deep impact to your beneficiaries. So create an engaging environment will also involve asking them what they think. So providing those feedback opportunities, whether that's on a regular basis as part of your meetings, maybe you have something online, you know, maybe kind of anonymous comment box. So you could do a survey monkey that's anonymous and just say that, you know, people can drop their comments, so they can just do a response that's just a text box that can have a bit of feedback in it. And making sure that your members feel welcome and comfortable, apologies, another typo there, with the committee, because then you'll get more from them. If they feel comfortable talking to the committee, they're more likely to turn to the committee to talk about any issues they might have. So then you can resolve them, which is more likely to keep that member and keep other members as well, if they might be experiencing the same thing and not want to talk about it. So for example, say you've got a particular project that doesn't have much kind of structure to the way that the meetings are running, and some of the project members are really struggling with that and they can't really kind of get to grips with any of the content because they don't really understand what they're doing. They feel comfortable with the rest of the committee and able to go to someone and say, this is the experience I'm having and I kind of feel like it needs to change. Then because they've mentioned that, you've got the opportunity to speak to the project leader, to give a bit of structure to that and give them the support that they need to do the work that they want to do with Enactus. So always important to get a bit of feedback. So last thing is I wanted to give you a reminder about merchandise orders. So we have moved on from the retention part of it there. Very sorry, I've got another typo there as well, as you can see in the email address. That's at enactus.org. So for merchandise orders, the deadline is this Thursday. So make sure if you want to order any of that, got the prices on there as well for t-shirts, sweaters and hoodies. And with that, you can either offer it up to your members to buy at that price, or if you want to use it as a fundraising opportunity, you can order them in at that price and add another 50p or £1 if you want to, and then that money can go into supporting your team and the financial sustainability of your team. And they can also make great prizes or rewards. So like I was saying, if you wanted to do games or icebreakers as part of your welcome events, and you wanted to have a prize, it might be nice to have a t-shirt as part of your prize and maybe a drink at the pub afterwards as well. So you get them to stay so that they can collect their prize at the end, and then they'll realise that they've fallen in love with Enactus and they want to keep the t-shirt after all anyway. And then obviously if you can get more of your team to have some of the merch, that's always great. Wear it on campus, get people aware of Enactus and wanting to join Enactus. You can order your own merchandise at other times in the year, but this is a nice, easy way of getting a bulk order in towards the beginning of the year, and you can pick it up at training weekend as well. Okay, so a quick reminder there that you can check the resources on the training hub. So there's loads of stuff on there, and I'm continually doing a bit of an audit there as well to make sure that the resources on the recruitment and the retention you hand over are the most useful resources as they can be. If you have any advice about that, if you have any insight or any suggestions of resources that you would like to see on the Training Hub. You can always pop me an email, message on Facebook, or pop something in the chat box here as well. But now I'm going to open it up if anyone has any questions. So that can be questions about recruitment and any of the activities there, or retention and making engaging activities for your members as well. I know that there's not many of us,